Well, hey, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast. We discuss news and politics. And we are live on YouTube and Twitch. YouTube, say hi to Twitch. Twitch, say hi to YouTube. I'm pretending that you can see me. There. Part of the reason I interact with the audience is that you really don't know if you're still broadcasting sometimes. You don't have real good indicators of that. Um, I think we got to be cognizant of things like power loss and internet loss, given what's going on all over the world. Kind of goes without saying. But yeah, every morning when we start this show, the first thing we do is listen to War by Edwin Starr. Hey, Gupta. And here is your link to a song to sort of keep into. I do anyway. It's in our nature to fight back, right? Jonathan Ross got outed um, by someone he tried to buy CSAM from, and the feds raided his house within the day by sunset. So I understand that he fucking murdered someone in cold blood on camera on his own body cam. We fucking watched it. Uh, Justice's waiting room, right? It doesn't look like or sound like or feel like what you think it does. Denmark has warned the United States that they will defend Greenland. Warns of devastating NATO war. I believe it to be an illegal order if you are to engage NATO as an American troop. I do believe that is. I don't think we do that. Pretty sure. So 9 hours ago, okay, in the middle of the night, the this regime has decided they're gonna start now hitting land targets in Mexico, targeting drug cartels. Yesterday, we talked about the internet and telephone service going down in Iran. And we were all like, they're all destitute. Whatever it would be the point of cutting the power to them while they're in mass protest, destitute. The Real is devastated. Its leadership apparently fled to Russia with all the gold. They did it so that they could start shooting and killing people. So, in case anyone had any questions of what happens again when you consolidate power and wealth into your leadership. The regime is trying to get $100 billion out of Venezuela for oil, but as I've been talking about, and I've been pointing people to Mr. Global, who owns LNG field, who works in the oil and gas industry, and he has been saying like with the way we work, if Venezuela had that much oil, we'd have fucking been there. And in fact, there's an American country there, Chevron, that has been there, operating at a fucking loss. And then here's the article from the BBC where the BBC is like, hey, oil execs are going to Donald Trump and saying, fucking Venezuela is uninvestable. This means that there's no goddamn sense in me sending any, not even a discovery probe to fucking Venezuela to figure out if their oil is worth taking. As a reminder, I sit here and tell you the only person from Venezuela that I've ever seen saying we have vast amounts of oil is fucking Nicolas Maduro, a ruthless dictator. People out here like, hey, guess we're going to war for oil. What fucking oil? Oh, it's the triangle of blah blah blah, and it's like, who told you that? Some AI video? No, no. If there were vast amounts of good oil in Venezuela, we'd have done did that. Okay, we'd have already been there, done that, got the fucking t-shirt. Trust. If there was as much as they say there is, trust. We'd have already been down there. And in fact, we already went down there. Chevron's been down there. It's not like we don't have people all over the globe that are like looking for rich mineral deposits that benefits the, well, mostly the military industrial complex and not really the US military at all, only in extreme circumstances, and it really always goes to the lowest bidder. It's actually kind of a shit show. John Healy says Britain won't let the US use its bases to attack Greenland. So understand what this means is that if Donald J. Trump decides to attack Greenland, he's going to have to do it from a limited, like a limited launch point, which makes you targets there. But yeah, good morning everyone. Happy to see y'all here. Hey, there's 10 people here at fucking 8 o'clock on a Saturday. So I appreciate y'all being here. To my lovely wife Taylor, Angie, Stacy, Bob, Dana. Make sure you like, comment, share, and all that good shit. I'm gonna make sure I share the show. I'm gonna go back to listening to War. Hey, I see Bob's on Blue Sky. That's for sure. Love to see it, man. Good morning. Have a sensational Saturday. Justice's waiting room. A daily podcast discussing news and politics. Politics is live. Twitch and YouTube. Co-streamed. I think that's what that's called. Dual stream? Dual casted? Dual casted? Probably. Hashtag JWR. Free Palestine. Slava Ukraine. Who wants to die? Oh, wow. Wanna? Wanna? As a former trombone player, I always make sure I try to put you in a position where you know, hey, you want to kind of support what we're doing. It's about talking in the chat, sharing the show. You know, Zeke recently, hope he's doing all right. Been clipping the show for me, which is really nice to have somebody paying close enough attention to clip it, right? Did you share the article from the LBC? Yeah, okay. Uh, the president of the United States said the fact that they landed a boat there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land, and I just find that incredibly fucking ironic. But we're gonna move along, okay? The girls are fighting. Questions were asked. If they say attacking Greenland is an illegal order, no, I said that. I don't know who they is. Isn't striking Mexico or other strikes he wants to make illegal as well? Good question. Um, so, I posted a video a few days ago that talks about when you're a world power, they kind of let you do whatever you want, and we'll talk about that later. Okay. Now, here's where we're getting into muddy water. The drone pilot, that sort of the stalker pilot that got the U.S. in position, um, questioned his orders, and they double checked that it had been approved, even though it hadn't. And so you understand, everything that happens in this life echoes for an eternity, right? So there's going to be a lot more objection from people that are like, hold on, what's the legal justification for that? Because you're the one that's got to wear it, right? The guy that gives the order to go do that, he don't got to go through it. He just disseminating fucking orders, right? They repositioned some naval ships to Cuba. Yeah, they are not our ally. Confess said an attack on. I don't know who Confess is. I don't. NATO is our ally. Denmark is in NATO. Greenland's part of Denmark, making Greenland NATO territory. We are also part of NATO. I'm pretty sure it's illegal for NATO to attack an ally. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I don't have any legal standing. I'm not a lawyer. Congress. I was like, who the fuck is Confess? This is some content creator I don't know about? Okay. I was like, who is Confess? Yeah, okay. Congress said an attack on Greenland is an illegal order. Yeah, okay. Just making sure I my legal understanding is correct. Hey, Gab. All right, so CPS, what? CPS has a draft document trying to eliminate circumcision. And one of my favorite follows on TikTok is a pro se attorney out of Colorado suing TikTok for their suppression of his account, and he's going to win that too. But he had a couple updates on Luigi this morning and also Jonathan Ross. Um, Luigi probably not going to end up getting the death penalty. They're trying to stick Luigi with interstate stalking, which elevates the murder of Brian Thompson to a federal crime. and they can't prove that. There's not evidence that um, Luigi Mangione like hunted down Brian Thompson. There's not evidence of that. He wasn't like stalking him on social media or nothing. And I'm not a lawyer, but it's like, oh, from someone that is, that sounded an awful lot like Luigi cannot be getting the death penalty. Not that he won't, but like it's gonna be, it's not a federal crime. What he did is not a federal crime. It's a state crime. Murder is a state charge. Remember that. It's not a federal crime unless there's like interstate stalking. Like you stalked someone from across state lines. Then it's a federal crime. As again, my legal understanding. Additionally, there was talk of this Jonathan Ross and about how people see the feds raiding his residence and taking like documentation and computers and fucking cabinets and shit out of his house. Um, it means the FBI is going to try to take control of the investigation, but ultimately, again, because there's not probably not evidence that Jonathan Ross knew who she was before he did that. There's probably not good evidence of that. The feds can't hang on to that info, and ultimately he's gonna get charged. He's gonna get probably 20 to life, and then he's probably gonna get stabbed in the pen. And also, and again, I'm operating purely off of what I see on social media when I say this. I also saw and would love to verify that Renee Good's family had a GoFundMe, and of course they got more money than they could have ever asked for, and they shut it off and said donate to other people in need. Whereas apparently Erica Kirk had a GoFundMe in the wake of dying and didn't shut it off after she got more money than she could have ever asked for. And that's the fucking difference between good people and bad people. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. A CPS draft document is trying to, and this is Crown Prosecution Service, as an honor-based abuse, forced marriage, and harmful practices. It classes circumcision as a potential crime alongside breast flattening, virginity testing. What? Um, Calling circumcision a form of child abuse. So this regime promised between $10 and $100,000 each to Greenlanders to become Americans, and they were resoundingly rejected. Yeah, so people in the comments, what I'm saying is the gunner, the striker gunner, the eyeballs in the sky in the conflict in Venezuela question his orders, and an enlisted person did, and they had to double check that his orders were legitimate before he engaged. That will have a ripple effect, and now everyone is going to legitimately question these orders. So I understand he's saying he wants to hit Mexico and fucking Cuba and all that shit. People are going to start questioning their orders. Did Congress approve this, or is this extrajudicial? And again, the United States has sort of gotten away with this over the course of history, where we just kind of done whatever the fuck we want, and we'll deal with it later. But it's the information age. We know who the gunner is and where he was from, and like he's on active duty, and you know he loves his job and his family and shit, and they put these people in harm's fucking way, ask them to do the dirty work, and then want to fucking hammer them too. And he like, nah, fam, I question my orders. The people above me, my chain of command, fucking failed me. And again, I just want to point that out. My chain of command, my leadership has failed me. The best leaders I ever had was when I was on active duty, and everybody else has been an absolute fucking letdown, top to fucking bottom. You want real talk? Absolute horrific leadership. My entire fucking career. So Trump said it may be a choice between NATO and Greenland. You'll notice how I'm replacing a certain person's name. UK has been threatened with sanctions if Keir Starmer blocks Twitter. So, hey, if you have any money in Twitter or Tesla or open or what is it, XAI or SpaceX, you got to get that money out. The UK is looking to ban Twitter. Hey, you know what's fucking awesome? Just because of the way we do business here, the first 45 minutes of this show, we go out of our way not to say that motherfucker's name. Just because he gets first run everywhere else and every goddamn story on the news has got his fucking name on it, but not here. Not for about the first 45 minutes. So we're going to say his fucking name. And fuck Donald Trump. Let's make sure we say that loud and fucking proud. But the problem is that he gets off on being on the fucking news. And I'm going out of my way to show the world like a 90-minute show every day where the first half, it ain't about him. There's a whole other fucking planet here with shit going on that this motherfucker just happens to try to replicate. The U.S. is tapering off U.S. military aid within the decade in progress, Netanyahu announces. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu discussed American financial aid to Israel and touched up on Iranian regime change in an interview with The Economist. Hey, this means he knows. Yeah, we talked about it. It was a show that it was a news story. Somebody created a new account on Polymarket and bet $35,000 to win $400,000 that Maduro was captured within the next 24 hours. Yeah, so clearly there's a mole. And Polymarket smells like Elon. Elon also bet big that Donald Trump would win the 2024 U.S. election on Polymarket. And there was a big connection between the wealthy in this country and their betting on Polymarket. Gambling is for degenerates. And so understand, tit for tat ain't gonna work. Senior Iranian official and ideologue Hassan Ag- Azghari said on Friday that Iran should capture U.S. President Donald Trump, just like what he did to Maduro. For the record, string his ass up. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, it could have been Witkoff too. The world's richest 1% have already used their fair share of emissions for 2026. Within the first 10 days of the year, there are, I'm pretty sure, like 1,000 billionaires in the US. And because of their tendency to travel, they've already used their fair share of emissions for the year. So Elon Musk is a pig, and as a result, Twitter is a pig pen. And so, what people are doing, and again, I'm so lucky that I don't have fucking kids because if I had a daughter and she isn't going through school right now and little boys were taking pictures of her and creating AI images to see her naked, oh, I'd be snapping necks. What the fuck are we talking about? And same thing, if I had a fucking son and he was going to school and he was a school age kid taking pictures of his classmates and turning them into nude images, oh, he'd be dead. What the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I cannot imagine being a fucking parent right now. Well, I ain't the only one. So, like I said, the UK is considering a complete ban of Twitter because of these indecent AI images. I mean, they're taking the fucking women on the news and turning them into nudies. And it's all using AI. Just France is considering stationing 6,000 troops in Ukraine. So here you go. What? They all got chlamydia on Bart's Island. At St. Bart's. That's funny. So the EU Parliament is looking at freezing the trade deal with the United States over these threats against Greenland. And honestly, I think if you're watching, you think Greenlanders will accept that $100,000 offer. Well, I shared an article, Gupta, in the chat. If you scroll back up, there's an article where like members of Greenland's political parties like said fuck you to Donald Trump. So yeah, there's a whole article about how Greenland came out in force and was like, yeah, fuck Donald Trump. The problem with Donald Trump that he doesn't understand is that people outside the United States hate him. Colombian guerrillas vow to spend their last drop of blood fighting the U.S. empire after the attack on Venezuela. Joy. Somebody said super chlamydia. Good. Did they get it on their face like Steve Bannon? Steve Bannon looks like he wears STDs. Somebody said we hate him here too. Yeah, we do. All right, we're learning elected officials' names today. Per fucking Bloomberg, you trash. Not even sharing your shit, scumbags. On Donald Trump's 80th birthday, they're going to have a UFC fight card on the White House lawn. I would prefer if no one watched that shit. What a fucking dumpster fire. Yeah, he's a baby. Clearly he was traumatized as a child. He's a little piss baby. Russian hypersonic strike triggers emergency UN meeting as Washington stays silent. As European allies and the UN push for a coordinated response to Russia's latest strike, the Trump administration maintains silence, fueling uncertainty in Kiev and across the transatlantic alliance. And thing about it is, remember one of the problems that we have in this country is that we don't understand that, for example, just because you saw a Minority Report, it does not mean that the police and the fucking feds are 100% ahead of crime and preventing it. In reality, they use as much information as they can to try to prevent as much as they can, but it ain't a fucking crime until you commit it. often the threat of committing the crime is not nearly as fucking juicy as you having to fucking go through with it. And it just so happens I don't think anybody saw the cuts to USAID happening. Otherwise, I think they would have done something. But then it was too late, and it's such a scar. It's such a scar between his reaction to COVID and cutting aid to USAID. That's a million deaths on his head. That's the ICC right there. And then you got to understand. I mean, he's due war crimes and aiding the genocide in Gaza, right? And remember, as someone's pointing out in the chat, that all of this shit is going on, and all this shit is exacerbated as a cover up to the Epstein files. And regardless of what you've seen and been told, only 1% of the Epstein files have been released. 1%. Clearly, this was a global cabal of wealthy elites who were absolutely in control of everything, absolutely out of control otherwise. Yeah, they flood the zone. It's hard to keep up with it. Russia's second ever combat deployment of the nuclear capable Oreshnik hypersonic missile slammed into critical infrastructure Thursday night in Lviv Oblast, a high stakes meteorite strike that landed just miles from a NATO border. While the experimental ballistic weapon targeted the West, a wider, coordinated swarm of 270 missiles and drones focused its fury on Kiev, killing at least 4 people, damaging the Qatari embassy, and plunging nearly 6,000 apartment buildings into a sub-zero blackout. And the U.S. is silent. Fucking scum. Japan is testing deep sea rare earth mining as a means of undercutting their reliance on the Chinese. And that is by design. Remember that we talked about demoralization as a Russian tactic. It's if you are feeling demoralized, it is as a result of Russian misinformation and propaganda. This is how they conduct. This is what happens when the KGB is in charge. Demoralization is the name of the game. You must control what you can control. You do not have to wear all of this stuff. I'm a big fan of you got to have a memory of a goldfish. It's not like you voted for this. Sleep well. Drink water. Go for a walk. Exercise. Disconnect. You know, a lot of people are like can't disconnect from it. You know, I've tried to tell you. You know what's even more horrific than what's going on in the world? You know what's horrific? If you really want to know, go to Twitter while all these things are going on and observe everyone knows what's going on right now. Right now, as it's happening, there's millions of people. And then on Facebook, they're weeks behind. That's horrific. Anything crazy happens, they're just lost, right? That's the problem. We know too much. Yep. Yep. I have never once said that man will see accountability while he's alive. I have said that the things that will happen to that man that we care about in terms of justice will happen after he dies of natural causes or is removed from office. which again, I'm pretty sure him getting removed from office and dying are like, he's got like 2 to 4 months left. Hiya. There's no one is saying he's going to be seeing accountability between now and his death. So I don't know where that is, but it's sitting on your psyche. It's weighing on you, right? Let me be the one to break it to you. He ain't gonna get in trouble while he's alive. I hope you sleep better now. He's not gonna get in any trouble while he's alive. You just know that. And once you realize, like, fuck him, he'll die one day, and then everything will fall the fuck apart. The thing about Donald Trump that makes it like he's the glue guy. Without Donald Trump, none of this shit happens. He's got he's got this charisma for stupid people that is the glue that holds this whole fucking thing together. Once he's gone, it's gonna unravel because nobody else has it. He can just keep bullshitting you. Oh, he just keep going to the next level of bullshit, and you're just like, oh my god. And there isn't anyone else on earth that is just that's how they are. I'll just hold on to this lie and just drive it into the ground, and then I'm gonna lie on top of that lie to bury that lie. Remember, the craziest thing about this is what happened to his ex-wife, who, when they moved around their house, they only ever used an elevator. But for some dumbass reason, they fell down a flight of stairs to their death. If that doesn't smell like murder to you, and then he buried her on his fucking golf course, sorry. But the regime will all be held accountable. Here's what I think. If you ever feel like the regime won't be held accountable, now we have a problem, right? But as far as fuck Donald Trump, he'll die. They'll desecrate his fucking grave. Jesus Christ. UK companies reduced their investment into Twitter by 60% in 2025. Yeah, she was cremated too. Her casket's heavy as fuck. The Reshnik is no joke. India has it. They used it against Pakistan. It destroyed their military bases. The cry of a wounded conscience. Oof. A Hindu man was killed in Pakistan, which has sparked widespread protests. Go dig up Bedminster. What? Widespread protests erupted in Pakistan's Sindh province after a young Hindu farmer was killed by a landlord in Badin. According to a report by Pakistan's news outlet The Nation, Kailash Kohli, what a pretty name, was shot dead by an influential landlord, Sarfaraz Nizamani, over the construction of a hut on his land. The Kiev mayors called on residents to leave the capital, so this would be the capital of a country being evacuated because of Russia. Half of the buildings have been left without heat. 6,000 apartment buildings. EU votes in favor of creating the world's largest free trade area with Mercosur. I don't even know what this is. Here. Buenos Aires Herald reporting. I'm going to read it to you. Representatives of the European Union's member states voted in Brussels on Friday in favor of a free trade agreement with the Mercosur bloc, formed by Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. A majority of the EU's 27 states greenlit the deal after 26 years of negotiations. This paves the way for the creation of the world's largest free trade area, comprising more than 715 million inhabitants, 447 million in the EU and 270 million in Mercosur. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is expected to travel to Asuncion on Monday to sign the treaty. Paraguay currently holds the pro tempore presidency of the South American bloc. However, the trade accord will then have to be ratified by all of the national parliaments of EU and Mercosur members to in, enter into force in each country. Huh. I just want to point out France, Hungary, and Ireland voted against it. The French president said there was unanimous political rejection of the agreement in France. Be interesting to see how you substantiate that. Hungary's foreign minister said the deal would open Europe to unlimited imports of South American agricultural products at the expense of the livelihoods of Hungarian farmers. Again, there's a reason that I feel that it is not the government's job to hold up farmers. It's not your fucking job. But those people lobby your political officials. And so that's why you'll even see a fucking foreign minister being like, I don't want to import South American agricultural products because it's gonna take money away from our farmers who again, I just want to point out, like in the United States, the big problem with a lot of these big farms is that they're getting a lot of money from us and they're not making food for us. So I want to make sure I point out farm to table, which is what you're talking about if you're thinking about a farm in the United States that makes food for people here. Um, yeah, we have those. But a lot of these farms, they get a lot of money from us in terms of subsidy. They're making food that's exported to other countries under agreements. I didn't say it was like good or bad. I'm just saying. I personally do not think that a farm producing a product in the United States that is exported to another country should be getting money out of my tax dollars. If that farm is making food and it's eaten by Americans, I'll pay taxes on that. That makes sense. An American paying taxes into a system that pays an American farmer to grow food for Americans, right? I'm gonna make sure we say that. And as far as the importing of goods, most of the food that you eat is imported. What are you talking about? Look at your spices, look at your pastas, look at your sauces. Obviously, a lot of the meat and veggies you eat are grown here, but anything dried, not our wheelhouse. All right, so we talked about this before, where they were considering bringing back all of the NASA crew because they were having a problem, like they were having medical issues. So NASA, here's the New Scientist, by the way. What a slick looking website. NASA's performing an unprecedented medical evacuation from the ISS. So I think we talked about this. Without coffee, people are going to start getting very irate. Yeah, I feel ya. I am not I without the cup of coffee. That's for sure. All right. So the embargo on fuck Donald Trump has been lifted. Keep in mind they've been protesting for 2 weeks in Iran. By the way, I didn't even know that. Did you know that? I didn't know they've been protesting for 2 weeks in Iran. Um, hey, whole ass countries are falling the fuck apart. In the last 1 year, if you just look back 1 year, uh, couple island countries, Tortuga, and also another island country is moving its capital, and Iran, all fell in 1 year. America Abroad, talking about America's strategic alliance with Denmark and NATO. A statement by 14 former officials in Democratic and Republican administrations, including 4 NATO ambassadors, 3 assistant secretaries of state for Europe, and 3 NSC senior directors, with statements on the strategic alliance between the United States, Greenland, and Denmark. Well, they're evacuating all of them, and it's like unprecedented what they're doing. Greenlanders are unnerved as Arctic Islanders are in the spotlight for no reason. A lot of people move up there to be. Mike said they had basically 3,800 protesters. U.S. can technically deploy military for security in Greenland through NATO. It doesn't need to annex it. I don't know what Trump's thinking. Yeah. Tehran is accusing protesters of bearing arms. So understand, in Iran, people have always wondered, like, why is this the greatest country in the world? Purportedly, it's because you could exercise your First and Second Amendments without your government calling for your death. I know that that doesn't happen here right now, but supposedly in the United States you have the First Amendment, which allows your freedom of speech, and your Second Amendment, which allows you to bear arms. And here's a story about how in Iran the protesters who are armed are going to get killed by their government for protesting while armed. Keep in mind, it's not illegal to do that. It's just weird. I think I think gun culture is weird. There, I'll say it. The Washington National Opera has bowed out of the Kennedy Center. I wish somebody would just take his name off the fucking Kennedy Center. That would be great. A judge has said the Trump administration can't block child care money for 5 Democratic-led states for now. Uh, one of the people that watches the show on Twitch is from India, and they said in India, Indian gun laws says that if you own guns, you're considered an enemy of the state. 5 Native Americans were detained by ICE during raids in Minneapolis. Tell me how that fucking makes sense. How did the American Indians not arrest the colonizers? What's going on here? This game sucks. The U.S. Supreme Court is going to weigh the FCC's power to fine wireless carriers. So get prepared to get gouged on your fucking cell phone bill too. You don't ever cape for a corporation. Companies do not care about you. Again, I just want to point out that this regime is fucking boring me to tears. Constantly, incorrectly accusing people of being affiliated with gangs. Oregon is investigating the Border Patrol shooting of a man and woman who authorities say have ties to a notorious gang. Tren de Aragua. I can promise you that's not true. Donald Trump has made this shit up. The passenger, Yorlenis Betsabeth Zambrano Contreras, is a criminal illegal alien from Venezuela and is associated with Tren de Aragua. Do you think Kristi Noem wrote that or Donald Trump? Or did they write it together? Since illegally entering, again, I didn't say Tren de Aragua doesn't exist. I said that he made up a gang. Somebody said, I hope Ryan Reynolds doesn't sell out. I hear you. Vivek Ramaswamy's family bodyguard has been arrested on drug trafficking charges. Isn't he a Republican? That's weird. So everybody's a drug dealer. Oh yeah, he's made up multiple. Yeah, Tren de Aragua I think is actually real. I just don't think they're nearly as present in the United States as he says. We were kind of talking about 6,000 buildings. That's a million people without spent hours without heat and water in Ukraine. Somebody said it probably existed back in 1985, but like I said, Luigi Mangione was back in federal court. I don't think he's getting the death penalty, and I'm not attuned enough with legalese. I would not be surprised if he walks. A Phoenix man was unexpectedly detained by Border Patrol agents on a cruise ship. So again, understand how fucking dumb everything is right now. Okay? Hey, this is awesome. Minneapolis school system says it will offer families remote learning amid federal immigration enforcement in the city. I'm a big fan of remote learning. As someone that's been in college in three separate decades, there's no fucking difference. As someone that's been working from home for the last 5 years, there's no fucking difference. I've made more money working from home. I've been more productive. There's a lot of people that say a lot of home environments aren't prep prepared for that. Meta has struck nuclear power agreements with three companies. This is about the first good decision I've seen out of uh, Meta. Although, what's wrong with solar? Would just be my question. What do you need nuclear power for? I'm pretty sure this is illegal, but Texas has handed over the complete list of registered voters to the Trump administration. So I'm pretty sure we'll be revisiting who did that. Okay. A second Georgia State House member is accused of lying to collect pandemic unemployment. Former Georgia State House member of Karen Bennett of Stone Mountain waived indictment, pled not guilty. She resigned from the House on Thursday, first elected in 2012. She's the second Democratic House member to be charged with lying to obtain federal unemployment assistance during the pandemic. Rep. Sharon Henderson, a Covington Democrat, was indicted in December on charges of theft of government funds and making false statements, accused of illegally collecting $17,811 in unemployment. Damn. There are some things like electronic technician that you have to do hands on in order to actually succeed in the field. Yeah, agree. Syria has announced a ceasefire. You know what? It makes me mad. Every day it's like this. They announced a ceasefire. They broke a ceasefire. They broke a ceasefire. They broke their ceasefire. They had no intentions of working within the constraints of the ceasefire. And it's like, what? Why would you go to the table? You remember? You know what I'll forever remember about like the last year? Fighter jets running bombing missions while Bibi is signing the ceasefire agreement. Man, if we're going to go sign a fucking peace agreement, I'm not running bombing runs while we're doing it. Now, why aren't they investigating them PPP loans, right? AP reporting that the shooting of Renee Good has sparked jurisdiction clash between state and federal authorities. We need to get rid of qualified immunity and the idea that a job that does not require you to have a college degree does not also give you the right to kill. And as again, as just a regular citizen, it is fucking baffling to me that you would have protect and serve on your car and pull a firearm on someone and kill them. How is that protecting them and serving them to kill them? Doesn't make any sense. Also, in 99% of all traffic stops and police visits. A firearm is not necessary. 99% of the time. What the fuck you got a gun on your hip for? That's insane. It's digging into your waist and shit, and you're not even using it. Let's look at politics. By the way, the craziest angle is the ICE agent shooters body cam videos. Specifically of Renee Good saying, "I'm not mad at you, dude," as she tried to drive away and he shot her and called her a fucking bitch. It's almost like he was sent to kill her. FIFA game cancellations are starting to happen. Good. I don't want the fucking World Cup played here. Swalwell and Goldman have offered a bill stripping ICE agents of qualified immunity. So there you go. Tiny dick injury, yeah. Yeah, he murdered her in cold blood. U.S. World Cup boycotts grow. Here's your Newsweek story. This is what I wanted to see. I don't know about you. Most entities took that saying off of their cars. Which one? Calls are growing on social media for international soccer fans to boycott the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which is being hosted across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Wow. The World Cup is by far the most popular soccer event worldwide, with more than 3.4 million spectators gathering in Doha, Qatar to watch the games in 2022. The U.S. is not safe to visit. In ICE's own words, it's wartime in America. ICE just launched a wartime recruitment campaign and seeks agents who want to defend their culture. When did it become okay to kill American citizens, for Americans to kill Americans? When did that become like what we do here? I was not raised to be to be angry at the person on my right and left. It's almost like, yeah, killing in general is not acceptable, right? But seeing the people as your right to your and your left as your adversary, it to me it tells me that people were not a part of Boy Scouts. They weren't. They didn't play sports. They weren't in the military. Now there are some bad guys here in the United States that are elected officials that are also veterans, but they're more of the exception rather than the rule. Okay? So part of the thing that I see is that these people have never been in a situation where they had to rely consistently on the people to the right and their left. They've been in a position where they've taken advantage of the people to their right and their left, and eventually, when you get where you get and it isn't fulfilling, and you had to use all these people, what do you think's next? Killing, killing them, and not valuing them at all. And Donald Trump just happens to have dementia. So what's particularly damaging about the way Donald Trump's done this is that he'll turn on his people. A turncoat be turncoating, right? A ballroom architect has revealed Donald Trump is plotting to destroy the West Wing. Remember, he already tore down the East Wing and they said that he can't do that. Uh, the plans to impeach Kristi Noem are ramping up, per Newsweek. I ain't ever calling Kristi Noem Ice Barbie. Fuck all that shit. The wife of Renee Good, Becca Good, is speaking out for the first time. We had whistles, they had guns. He got up in the middle of a meeting yesterday and just stood out of a window. Oh, you mean he's sundowning in real life? We have the king that Thomas Paine feared. Economy is the worst it's been in 16 years. Job market's the worst it's been in 16 years. Yeah. What a crazy title. We have the king that Thomas Paine feared. Maria Machado is going to give Donald Trump her Nobel Peace Prize to keep him from invading. There, you said it, Squint. I ain't calling nobody fucking Ice Barbie get fucked. She looks like a Dementor with skin on. Express News with an opinion article about how Renee Nicole Good's son is going to grow up wondering why did the president demonize my mom after ICE killed her. I guess Barbie can really be anything, even a Nazi. Rubio's like, man, you ain't supposed to read that out loud. Yeah. The Nobel Institute is torpedoing loser Donald Trump's desperate plot for his own prize. You understand that the stock market is not a good indicator of the economy. NBC News reporting nationwide protests have erupted after the after Jonathan Ross killed Renee Nicole Good, and I'm willing to put money on it being premeditated. By the way, did y'all see the Philadelphia sheriff ripping uh, ICE? Come try that shit here. Here's Fox News. Hell yeah, I need this energy. Fake law enforcement. Oh yeah. Don't disable your ad blocker. Legal experts say ICE agents do not have qualified immunity. So, just to be clear, and like I was talking about, Renee Nicole Good's family raised $1.5 million before they shut it off. Isn't that special? So hopefully that 6-year-old boy grows up and doesn't have to worry about a fucking thing, and Renee's wife doesn't have to worry about a fucking thing. Remember, it's all his fault. All these people that have lost their jobs, and this economy is sour, and the prices of everything is skyrocketing. It's all Donald Trump's fault. Uh, let's see. Here's The Nation talking about how we should abolish ICE immediately. Should have already been done. Border Patrol should not be allowed within outside of like 5 miles of the border of like a U.S. border with another fucking country. We got to get these little Napoleons. New Jersey anti-ice bills. Here you go. Nope. A trio of bills targeting local cooperation with federal immigration agents and expanding protections for immigrants is expected to go before the full legislature Monday, after they advance through two legislative committees Thursday. The package of bills is being fast-tracked after a similar measure languished for more than a year. Senate President Nicholas Scutari told reporters that he plans to support them, though he worries about the proposals making New Jersey a target of the federal government. I fear for the people that are advocating for this getting what they asked for. Maybe that's exactly what they expect. I think it could have unintended consequences for a lot of folks. The bill's advancement came a day after U.S. and Immigration's Custom Enforcement officers shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis during a civil immigration enforcement operation. Senator Brittany Timberlake said that the killing of a young 37-year-old mother, American citizen, white woman, blonde hair, shows that can happen to everyone. So have all the other people that have been killed by ICE in the last year, but never mind. Yeah, I'm glad Zeke's here. It's Saturday. I'm not surprised people sliding in late. Annihilating your neighbors and your own citizens per salon at a breaking point. An NPR poll says many Americans say the U.S. is not a moral leader, but they want it to be. Trump will use other tariff authorities to get to the same place if the Supreme Court rules against him. Just so you know, Donald Trump is surrounded by idiots. Good. I'm glad all is well, buddy. Surrounded by yes men who have, I would say, a less than stellar understanding of the way law works. Somebody posted in the chat a while ago about Donald Trump reading aloud a private note from Marco Rubio. Here's that. Fear it's going to end with violence from both sides. They've been saying that my whole life. Schumer and Jeffries refuse to join Democrats' growing calls to slash ICE spending. There you go. Vote them out. They wanted us pitted against each other. They want you. I mean, think about it. The gun makers. Stephen Miller's cousin blames him for the ICE killing. That's who's responsible. Kristi Noem is just a cover. Jeopardy host Ken Jennings said he'd vote for the 2028 candidate who would prosecute the Trump regime. Oh, Snopes is trash. And make sure we reiterate Donald Trump has been told by oil executives who he called before the strike in Venezuela to tell them they were about to get rich. They've told him it's uninvestable. And then obviously the article from The Hill, Jack Smith will publicly testify. And remember that all of this that we go through every day, all of this is to distract you from the Epstein files, of which a total of 1% of all of the Epstein files have actually been released. Do you know how much fucking documentation that is? Holy fuck. No wonder they had to hire a bunch of people and had to redact a bunch of shit. I mean, he did it. And again, as I've said before, the worst thing that will happen to Donald Trump will be after he dies. I mean, it's already pretty bad. I don't think he can sleep at night, and I'm pretty sure he's on drugs all the time to keep him alive. And he can't even piss and shit on his own. He's got a colostomy bag. Trump will lose the midterms. Well, he won't be in the midterms. So you mean the Republican Party will lose the midterms? They already only have about a one vote lead. So I would call the midterms lost already. The midterms are a lost cause already. Because they're even, think about this. It's just like the Michael Jordan comment about talking shit. Okay? When you're up, it's easy to say, I'm going to beat your ass forever. When you're losing, that's some crazy shit to talk shit when you're losing. But when it's neck and fucking neck, when you got a one vote advantage and Donald Trump's in power, oh, you're fucking losing. You're losing the midterms. Oh, yeah. Every fucking election since the 2024 US election, Democrats have overperformed in like 95% of elections. My issue with us rocketing towards a uniparty, a single party. I mean, you saw the Republicans got into power and they could do nothing. And then the country will turn to the Democrats and say, okay, now you run it. And it's like, do you think that you just like get back all your rights and you just undo all the death? Oh, oh, okay, just checking. Because that's not going to happen. And as I said, I wanted to make sure I showed you this. The video from The Guardian saying, here's the video from dudes body cam where Renee says, "I'm not mad at you," and tries to like drive away from Jonathan Ross. And he called her a fucking bitch after he shot her 3 times in the face from his own body cam. Yeah. And your party supports ICE, who's brutally murdering innocent people of all colors. Yeah. Axios reporting Kristi Noem's impeachment's going mainstream. Yeah, the difference is I see Renee as an angel, and I see Jonathan Ross as a demon. AOC has shut down a Fox producer who confronts her about refusing to go on Jesse Waters' show and that he has sexualized her. Accused her of wanting to sleep with Stephen Miller. The state of Minnesota. Here's the Seattle Times reporting. The state of Minnesota has launched its own probe of ICE, or I'm sorry, of the ICE shooting after the FBI froze out local police. Understand if the FBI tries to freeze out the local PD and the state gets involved, oh, you're getting charged. Oh, you're getting charged. A gay Minneapolis pastor says an ICE agent pointed a gun in his face just blocks from where Renee Good was killed. That's wild to me. It's wild to me. It's almost like they knew where she lived. It's almost like Jonathan Good was sent to kill Renee Good. Jonathan Ross was sent to kill Renee Good. A pastor was basically pistol whipped blocks away from where she died, pulling out of her driveway. The feds taking fucking computers and filing cabinets and paperwork out of Jonathan Ross's house probably means they're hiding him and trying to cover it up. Yeah, she was an activist, right? She was a a peacemonger. Pope Leo again condemns the zeal for war and the deepening rift with Donald Trump. Trump's folly. The United States has turned dark, aggressive, and lawless. And one of the creators I follow, that attorney Jason Brooks from that pro se attorney from Colorado, um, he said Jonathan Ross is going to get 20 to life, and he won't make it in the pen. And I think that's what I want for evil people. I don't want the death penalty. I find that inhumane. What I want is I want you to go and be amongst your peers. And while you're in hell, I want you judged by hellions. That's what you deserve. I want you judged by heathens. So now the Intercept is asking for uh, ICE body cam footage, and DHS is claiming they don't have it. Nah, I'd think he'd already done that. The DNC chair called Donald Trump a lying piece of shit over the false Minnesota election claims. Ken Martin. I chaired the Minnesota DFL for all 3 of your runs here. I watched you lose 3 times. Woo! The feds are about to pay $125,000 after a Border Patrol agent pointed a gun at a Portland hotel worker. So keep this in mind for those of you that go out and fucking protest and shit. Hey, hey, this fucking gunplay shit where they're pulling guns out and just brandishing firearms and pointing them at your head, yo, that's illegal as fuck. Yeah. You ain't even supposed to draw your firearm till you see one. Think about that. Graham Plattner says ICE is not welcome in our communities. Now he's up in Maine. Okay. Again, I think we can say without a shadow of a doubt we figured it out that the Democratic Party has decided to stay mum on the 2024 US election until they're in power. There's not a statute of limitations on that. And understand, we looked up the penalties for what happened in the 2024 US election. And what did we learn? Oh, well, the penalties are that you can't be involved in US politics. How you ever going to get that to happen with Republicans in power? It ain't. Got to vote them out. We got to vote them out. Vote out the incompetent people that aren't trying to prosecute. Nah. There's a rule of law, and the best part about the rule of law is that it is not partisan. So being a Republican doesn't make you lawful. Being a Democrat doesn't make you lawful. That's part of being an American, man. It's just like there are rules, and you break those rules, there are consequences. For most of us. I understand that there are people on this planet who are above the law and above the consequences, and I'm not talking about those people. They're planning on martial law and preparing for checks like as you travel the roads. Mm, they are not. They don't have enough people to do that. Former Governor Jesse Ventura speaks out against ICE in Minnesota, hints that he may return to politics. They don't have enough people to do all that. I get people, you know, that yes, I'll agree with you even though I have not seen U.S. is planning martial law. I don't. I googled it. I didn't see a news story from a mainstream media source. just know, like, wherever that came from, U.S. is huge. Full stop. There aren't enough military. Read my lips. There aren't enough people in the U.S. military to do martial law. Okay. A memo postal workers received. Eh. Yeah, I saw the postal worker talking about, yeah, civil unrest. They're talking about protests. I get it. I get it. I get it. I would it would behoove you to check out Knitting Cult Lady. Listen, I don't much care for content creators on the whole. Okay, but you really gotta listen to a person that was a captain. Do you know what a captain is? That's a promotable officer in the military. um, she was a captain in intelligence and logistics while on active duty in the military, in the army. In the army. Okay? And if you listen to her, she straight up tell you there'll be a full blown rebellion in the United States before there will ever be martial law. Full blown rebellion, not to be governed. Hey, yeah, she knows her fucking shit. And understand that's her job. Did you hear what I said? This is the person while she was on active duty that would have coordinated martial law. That would have been her job. Her job is to station checkpoints and to make sure that they have bullets and band-aids and food and replacements and that they have places to sleep and shit. And you got to think about, it can't be close to a city. It's got to be kind of away from the city. Why? They got to be able to see anything coming at them at those checkpoints for miles. It is so wildly inconvenient because if you move the checkpoints too close to city limits, then people just are too close and can proximity attack, and you can't really defend. Yeah, 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 yeah. She was an intelligence and logistics officer. She plant bullets, bad guys, band aids. She's the one doing the crunch of the numbers. Funny thing, when I was on active duty, uh, that was what I did. When we did troop movement, is I calculated how many vehicles are we going to need, how much fuel are we going to need, how many people can we put in each truck, and then because we had a lot of bigger guys, like guys over 6 foot, over 200 pounds. Marines are not normally that goddamn big. Marines are like 150 pounds instead. So we had a lot of big guys. So we had to spread out our big guys among our trucks because it impacted fuel efficiency. Mhm. So I was just an enlisted nobody, Captain Mestinek, ma'am, is a legitimate logistics officer, an intelligence officer from the Army who knows her shit. And again, the Postal Service was just talking about civil unrest in terms of like protest. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure you're not. It's okay to be scared, right? That's fine. It sucks. That's true. Mm-hmm. Listen to some Eat the Rich. We'll check on y'all bot and get out of here. By the way, I would have ended the show minutes ago, but there's shit going on y'all bot, so I can't see the full country. So I'm kind of like, fuck. Here we go. No, it's not. Strong tornadoes in Alabama and Georgia today. Flash flood warning in Birmingham and central Alabama. Severe thunderstorm warning in Alabama. Oh my God, Alabama. without even seeing the map. Oh my God, Alabama. Here we go. Goodness gracious. Okay, look. It's a pretty busy day. Weather intensity score is very high. Starting in the west coast, rain in the very northwest part of the country. There's moisture in California into Montana, uh, Arizona, New Mexico, a little bit in Colorado, a little bit of moisture, South Dakota, Northeast Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, Iowa, Minnesota, big ol' thing in Wisconsin. There's a storm in Illinois, so that means us here in Indy. There's moisture central Ohio, and then there's a storm from the Gulf of Mexico, that slasher style storm from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to New York. So that's Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, Eastern Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia into the New York, like DC area. So keep your head on a swivel, no surprises, right? We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Right on.